Hi guys, welcome to Winsome Cottage Gardens. My name is Hannah. I'm so glad that you decided to join me today. It has been a while since we last spoke. I think I last posted a video back in December, and I had honestly intended to continue my videos throughout the winter, even though I do live in Michigan, so the winter's very, very snowy. And actually we had a record winter. I think it's like the 5th snowiest winter on record in Grand Rapids area, which is where my home base is. And in all honesty, I actually hurt myself a little bit I don't know if I even posted the video that I hurt myself in because I did it using an auger in a non-recommended way. So next time I use an auger, I'll kind of explain what I did and let you avoid my fate. I threw out my back and then I exacerbated it, and it really laid me up for quite some time. And then really life kind of conspired to me. My work got really busy. January through March is a really busy time for me. So that busy period has passed, and I'm really excited that I have a little more free time to share with you guys what's going on with the garden. And everything is just kind of starting to wake up. Today we're at the cottage, as you might be able to see. I'll link a video before. I don't think I did videos this early last year, so this is a time you haven't really seen it, but I'll show you what it looks like in the summer with a link below. You can see it is still very much dormant. We're at the cottage, which is actually where my parents live, and they're kind of in a weird place. They are about a 1.5 miles, 2 miles off of Lake Michigan, which is a very protected area. So they're zone 6. In the city, which is further south than here where I live, we're actually zone 5. So even though we're further north, because the water helps insulate it, they're a milder climate, but their last frost date is quite a ways away. It's June, to be honest. So they have quite a short growing season. Things are really dormant, and it looks beautiful and sunny today, but tomorrow winter has not quite let us out of its grasp because we're expecting 5 to 7 inches of snow here. The city's not getting that. It's just going to be rain, so I'm very grateful. But I thought I would start off my return to videos by kind of showing you some of the to us early spring maintenance. I know in warmer climates you guys already have daffodils and leaves beginning, and you're able to plant some of your spring crops outside. That's a ways away for me, not only just here, but also in the city. We still have some routine maintenance that we'll be doing that I thought I'd bring you guys along and kind of show you what we do when. So today, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing some fencing around some of the beds we worked on last fall, where we did a lot of renovation and redefining. We never actually got them fenced. They weren't touched too much by deer, and we're now getting to the time of year that it is critical that we protect the new growth as they kind of are back and more active, looking for food. We fence most of our beds unless they're specifically highly deer resistant varieties. So we didn't get around to doing that, so we're going to do that now. Potentially we're going to clean out some beds of leaves because we have some emerging bulbs. And I'm hoping I might be able to stick some bulbs that I never got in the ground and some planters and see if it's not too late to force them. We'll see how it goes. That's like a pretty ambitious goal for today. It is about 45 degrees-ish, a little colder probably if you're exposed, but the sun is beautiful. So it's cold, but it's amazing how 45 in the spring feels so much warmer than 45 in the fall. So I'm really excited to get going. Molly is right there. She's going to be joining us today on our adventures. And I also, before this video is done, want to make sure I show you some of the bulbs that are coming up because the snowdrops are already in bloom that we planted last fall, which is really exciting. Actually incredibly bright today, and things are still monochromatic, so it might be hard to see, but you can see we have some of these that we planted here. These are all snowdrops that are in bloom, and I'll get close to some up there that I want to show you guys. But as I'm walking, you'll be able to see. Now, I don't know if you see, these are daffodils that are just kind of starting, barely starting. This swoop was already here. But this is some of the stuff. They're really hard to see. This is some of the stuff we planted last year, all coming up. And then let's walk up there to show you the beginnings of our snowdrop patch. We did a couple different groupings, and this is kind of right on, this is actually a neighbor's property, but they let us plant these here because we see them from our house. They can enjoy them too. And we did a couple different groupings of snowdrops because they're just so sweet and pretty when you really need some color. So what we did last year is used, I think, the 5-inch auger, and we did a hole, and we just did 5-ish bulbs per hole. So we did a couple different groupings and then a bigger swath over here, and these guys really will naturalize in our area. I'm still like, they look a little sparse. They're still so cute to see when you're really starved of color. after a winter. It was inspired to plant these because of my work. I'm not the gardener at my work, but we do have some beautiful grounds. They have some that have been in the place for about 10 years and they look amazing. I'll see if I can post a couple pictures, and that's what we want for this area, which give it 5 years and we'll do it. Actually, I see this and it makes me want to plant more. So maybe we'll plant more in the fall. Well, this light is going to be pretty harsh today, but it feels so warm and glorious. You'll have to kind of deal with the harsh light. Crocus bulbs are also coming up slowly, but they are just emerging. I'm trying to see. This is actually a patch of like 5 we planted, and that's one. I'm not sure if the rest just didn't take or if they're taking some time. Other areas that we planted some crocus in, I think they just haven't emerged yet. They're slowly coming, but a couple other things that I just find so exciting that I wanted to share with you is the other things that are slowly emerging are our bluebells. Let's see, I saw some in here. Yes. In this bed, you can just barely see. There's some there, some there. Like, it's hot. Like, if you stare close enough, you see them, but they're coming. So this bluebells from about here over, it's full of bluebells. We also have bluebells in the woods in grassy areas around here, which is exciting. And then some more crocus and whatnot. This is one of the beds that if we have time today, I'm going to pull the leaves off of, even though we are getting snow tomorrow. They're at a stage where it won't hurt them. Because we have a couple hellebores in here. There's some crocus coming up already as well that I want to unearth. I think I planted something else in here too. So I can't remember. I planted 2 types of bulbs. So it's either bluebells and crocus or crocus and snowdrops. So either way, I should probably clear off the leaves because they're so short and this is the time that they're emerging so that they can come up. Anyway, first jobs first, protect what we've already planted. So we're going to get set up and fence in our areas. Right now, we're just prepping this bed. We're going to do the same thing for all the beds that need to be fenced. You might remember that we planted a hydrangea here last year. I'll link the video below, but there used to be Shasta daisies in here that we decided to eliminate. So there's cardboarded mulch because we also redefined the bed. That was all done last year and we never got around to fencing it back in. I mentioned briefly before that we use this as a deterrent to deer. Looking around, we haven't had a ton of deer activity yet, but they're just starting to get active. We've noticed some deer droppings in a couple areas, so we want to make sure we get things protected before it becomes too late. This hydrangea actually did get nibbled on a little bit, but it's one that does get pruned, so we're not too worried about it yet, but we are taking preventative measures. So what we do with these things is my dad's roughly putting those in. I'm gonna follow up around with a measuring tape. They're gonna be about 7 feet apart, and we're gonna do 2 seams. One at the bottom of the bed, one at the top of the bed, so we can get easy access to both. You might remember that this is quite an incline. Right in front of me, behind you guys, is the lake, and it's a steep slope from the house down. So each of these beds are kind of terrace beds to help break up the slope when you are walking. So Molly and I are gonna finesse this and start rolling out the fencing, and then we're gonna do this for the 3.5 other beds that need it. Okay, so this is taking a little bit longer than expected, in part because I forgot how exacting my dad is, but he's always right because it looks good. So it's taking us about an hour to get the posts in and reach where we are. We're going to take a break because the sun keeps going away and the wind blows every once in a while and it gets cold. I'll bring you back out when it's time to keep going. We have run out of fencing materials, so my dad is running into town to get some fencing material. I don't know how much light there will be when he returns, so I may or may not show what we're doing, but you basically saw what we did. The one thing I wanted to show you was what we do, because this is a wire fence and we're going up inclines. Every once in a while you'll get this weird like gap because either at the top of the fence or at the bottom of the fence it's taut at one of the sides, and at the other side it's very loose because of the difference in the curve as you're going around. So we create a fold halfway through and wire it together. So I thought I'd show you that a little bit closer because it takes out some of the unsightliness here. This is when we haven't done the fold yet, so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Might not look that bad, but you can kind of see it better from here. You see how that's really curved, but at the top or at the bottom it is straight because of there's actually an incline here. Like I am 8 inches taller from, well, 6 inches from here to there. So that's what this is. So we haven't done it here yet, but what we will do anywhere there's this kind of gap is put in a fold, which we actually have one here. And you really can't see it all that much. We just bend it and then we wire it together. We wire every other. And what it ends up looking like, I mean, you can't really see it. You can kind of if you're looking closely, but it just disappears. And then you don't have that unsightly ripple, which also gives animals a chance to kind of get up into it or try and break it down. The other thing you might have noticed is this is actually not secure, this bit. We're running short of time, and since tomorrow's weather is getting snowier and snowier, we instead have just kind of hooked it. And then next week when the snow melts, as it's going to because of the temperatures, my dad and sister, when I'm back in the city working, are going to come in and add the little silver clips. I don't know what they're called. They're the triangles that are meant for this. And we just, if it's an anchor, we do 3. And if it's just a middle bit, we do 2. And we try to do 2 pieces on each bed so that there's a way to get into the bed without having to unravel the whole thing. So down there we'll be able to get in, and right here we'll be able to get in. And from there we can basically access the whole thing. So this is close enough to protect it from the deer, which is the important thing. We did see, I walked around yesterday with my mom, and we only saw deer poop in one area and a couple places that had nibbled things. And then since then, there's some fresh deer poop, so that means they came through last night. We're going to just roughly like this, pin up the rest of the beds once we get it so that, again, it's protected. Now, what I am going to do is get those bulbs I still have and put them in pots. It's a little late to do this if you're forcing bulbs, but I have the bulbs. They're going to be thrown out if I don't do anything with them. So we're going to put them in these pots, stick them in the garage until the cold weather passes tomorrow, because they're going to be in a warm spot. They'll probably start coming up. They might be on track with everything else because they haven't been in the soil. I don't know what the bulbs are going to look like. They're probably going to be a little dry and desiccated, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I have these 2 pots, and I've seen better days that we're just going to fill to the brim with these bulbs. So I'll get that done. I don't know if I'm going to get the beds cleared. That might have been a tiny bit ambitious. What I have is actually a variety of daffodils we dug out of the ground last year accidentally. These are a little soft, but clearly they have a will to live. I don't know if they will flower because I don't think at their cooling period. These should, because they were in the garage. I bought these on clearance at Lowe's. I don't know if I ever talked about them because I bought a number of things on clearance at Lowe's and I was planting them in the video that I hurt myself. So I bought these. I think I paid $3 for this. I don't know if they'll bloom either, but I figured I'd do a mixture in these 2 buckets with what we have. So let's get started and see what happens. Okay, before I cover them up, I thought I'd show you what I did and explain how some of the rules that I'm following and some of the ones I'm breaking as an experiment. But if you were doing this at the time you should, it's things that you should keep in mind. So as a general rule of thumb, it is a good idea to know what you are planting where. So this, I just know it's a tulip and daffodil mix. It's a double, so they'll probably get kind of tall, but it doesn't tell me the exact types of daffodils or tulips in these. In general, though, you would want to plant them 3 to 6 inches deep. So this is going to be a scant 3 inches, which if you are trying to force bulbs, it's okay to plant them a little shallower. Now, these are not going to live in perpetuity in these. Worst case scenario, I think they'll still live, and hopefully, even if they don't bloom, which I'm not sure if they will, because I'm not sure if they got cold enough to do what they need to do, then I will pull these up and put them in the landscape somewhere later this year, and hopefully next year we'll get some blooms. I love tulips. Tulips are one of my favorite spring flowers, but you will know I don't plant a lot of them because they get eaten quite frequently. And they also they're not super hardy. They don't come back year after year like daffodils or hyacinth or some of the other bulbs I've planted. So the only time I really use them these days is this. So I actually, for the mixture, I put 5 of each of the tulip bulbs, which you can tell they look a little bit different, and 5 of the daffodil bulbs from that mixture in each of the pots. And then I just kind of did a mixture of what we had in those 2 pots that we had dug up when transplanting things last fall. We'd also meant to plant those in the ground, but never got around to it. You might recall that we were planting bulbs pretty late last year. This, at the very least, will keep them alive. They're obviously wanting to live. A lot of them have growth points, so at the very least, we'll have 2 nice green pots. And this is the other thing I wanted to point out, this is very densely planted. If you were planting these in the landscape, you would want to space these out more. Like, I think generally, depending on the variety, it's 2 to 6 inches that are just spacing is suggested. If you're planting in pots, it's okay to do them right next to each other like I have in here. I roughly split what I had based on what I think is viable, and there's about 45-ish bulbs in each of these. If this little circle was grass, at most you would want to get like 12, because you have to leave space for it to naturalize. Otherwise, you would really need to split them way too soon. So just wanted to point that out. I'm going to be completely burying these. They'll be okay. They'll continue pushing up. If anything, they're going to be happy to be in soil. They were a little dry. I don't know if you saw, they were a little desiccated. The new ones were a lot better than the ones we dug up. So we'll see. It's an experiment, but hopefully I'll be able to show you blooms soon enough. I got those bulbs all tucked in. You may have seen that I filled it and then I actually put it on the ground and kind of tamped it down so that the soil could come down. I am going to go water it. I'm actually going to go put it in the garage until the snow event is done tomorrow, and then I'm going to water it in tonight. So I think it'll settle a little bit much. I filled it right to the brim, but I bet once I water it and it settles, it'll have a nice 1/2 inch gap. I don't think I told you when I was going through the do's and don'ts what the biggest no-no that I'm doing right now is, that I would encourage you not to. The biggest no-no is you should have refrigerated these. If you are trying to force plants, you should either have planted them and put them in a secure place that they could still get the moisture and stuff all winter long, but that they get that cold funicular period they need to form blossoms. I have no idea if these are going to flower. The bulbs that I bought at Lowe's were in the garage. They should have gotten their cooling period. They aren't rotting, which is good. Sometimes if you let them get too cold, it doesn't work out. The other big no-no is this is a little late to be doing this. It's not completely unheard of. In general, if I was going to be doing this, which I did intend to do this with the pack I bought from Lowe's, I should have, at the very latest, it's the end of March, done this at the beginning of March and put them in a warm place in the garage so they could start growing and then get them outside about now. But we'll see. Those are the big 2 no-nos. So hopefully you can avoid, if you're trying to do this year. The other thing is these are going outside. If I was going to put these inside, I might still have time to do this. But again, you would need to do that vernacular period and all that good jazz. So an experiment. We'll see what happens. And I do like to do some pots with spring flowers, but I usually actually plant them in the fall and put them in a nice place. the very least, these are going to live and we'll be able to enjoy them next year, if not this year. I think that's where I'm going to leave this video. I know that the fencing project isn't quite done, but you get the main gist of what we were doing. I didn't get to any of the garden cleanup. I'll be up again in a few weeks, and I'm sure I will be doing some early spring cleanup then and bring you guys along for the journey. The next video you will see, which might be next week, is actually me getting my seeds started. Usually I am a type of person who starts my seeds way too early. Like, not way too early. It's in the recommended window, but it's like the first moment of the recommended window. I do have a very late last frost date. And I think in the city it's the end of May. I've said sometimes I'll be able to watch the weather and put things out sooner, but peppers and tomatoes I generally don't put out till after Memorial Day, because you really want the nighttime temperatures to be above 50, otherwise they can get stunted. So that for us is usually after Memorial Day. Sometimes we get lucky. Maybe this year will be that year. But I'm a little behind, but I'm still within the recommended window of seed starting. So I actually had to order some more seeds. How busy has the last couple months been? I didn't get around to ordering the seeds I ran out of until last week. So I'm waiting for those to arrive, which they should be here in the next couple days. And then I will get those seeds started and bring you along for the journey and kind of share you how I plan, what I'm planting where, and what I'm going to be growing on this year in the vegetable garden, and some cut flowers as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you coming back after this long winter break. And joining in as we continue growing the gardens here at the cottage and in the city. There's a lot of big things we have planned for this year, and I hope you guys stick around to enjoy the journey with us. Can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.